Are you worried at all about Kyle? I mean, you're not worried because you don't care about the outcome either way.
Yes.
But like, are you worried about Kyle coming out like, trying to be something different than what they've always been, which is run game, defense, play action? Are you worried about that? Oh,
Let's
here we
talk
go.
about it. Let's talk about
Yeah.
what's at stake for Kyle Shanahan against the Packers.
Hmm.
This has been a very good year for Kyle. Again, regular season. You could argue it's been his best regular season yet. It's been
Yes.
terrific. No one cares if he loses this game. And no one expects him to lose this game. But look what just happened to Mike McCarthy. A lot of people expected that. Maybe some didn't. I did.
Yeah.
He loses. And now you go from talking about, him being one of the best coaches in the league to getting fired. Or Dan Quinn, talking about him going to maybe Seattle to be the head coach to getting fired, potentially. That's how bad Dan Quinn was. Now,
Yeah.
Kyle, if he finds a way to lose to the Packers, they're a really good team. It wouldn't be a total mess up. How would people
It
look at him?
it
Now,
would be. It
he
would be a
always
mess up.
finds a way to like wiggle out of responsibility, right? Like if Brock
Right.
gets hurt, it's no one's fault. If Brock throws a bunch of picks, it's Brock's fault. And if the defense gives up a bunch of points, it's on Steve Wilkes. But I wonder if eventually or ultimately people will look at Kyle like, hey man, you can't keep throwing subordinates under the bus when it's you. So I think a
Yeah.
lot's at stake for him in this game.
It is, man.
Gotta win.
He has to prove he can get over the hump.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's the Dak Prescott of coaches at some point, right? He's got to go all the way, man. This is the team. This is the year to do it, and really, no excuses should matter at this point. I mean, if you're not going to win it this year, when are you going to win it? Kyle Shanahan's got to come out and be. To me, it would be a disaster if they don't beat the Packers, right? It'd be a disaster in general. This team is too damn good. Even Tashawn Gibson just said it. It's the best team he's ever been on in his entire career, and he's been playing for a long freaking time. Kyle Shanahan has put himself in position to win 2 Super Bowls and folded in those 2 moments. He's got to get over that hump. And if he doesn't, it's horrible. He becomes the Dak Prescott of coaches at some point, man. He's got to do it. He's got to do it. There's a lot at stake for Kyle
Yeah.
Shanahan. Now, he's not going to lose his job, and he's going to be back here competitive again next year.
He's not going to lose his job, but
No.
if they lose to the Packers, someone's losing their job, and obviously the easy scapegoat is Wilkes. Just like with the Cowboys, don't be surprised if Dan Quinn gets straight up fired for what happened, and they replace him with Wink Martindale. How about that?
Martin, you know what's crazy about Quinn? He was supposed to get all these head coaching opportunities, but how do you hire him as a head coach after what happened yesterday?
Nah, man, he's gonna have to find another defensive coordinator job, and it could be with the Niners.
That's a good one. But
although I'm not sure he's better than Wilkes, but I'm saying if the Niners lose to the Packers, someone's getting fired, and it won't be Kyle. It'll either be scapegoated. It'll be Wilkes or Purdy. And we're either going to be having the conversation, man, Purdy melted down again.
Yeah.
Is he that guy? Or, geez, Wilkes had a really good year, but first playoff game couldn't do it. Like, this guy just isn't good enough. D'Amico did good in his first playoff game. Salah did good in his first playoff game. Yeah. So a lot's at stake for Wilkes in this game. Really, no one cares what you did in the first half of the first season. I mean, regular season.
Hypothetical. Purdy melts down in this game, and we see a Browns game. What happens to Brock Purdy?
Well, great question. Well, I could tell you what the conversation would be all offseason.
Yeah, it would be that.
How legitimate is Brock as a franchise quarterback? Is he a product of the system? Is he a game manager? Did he try to do too much? Is he the guy for the future? Should they draft another quarterback? All those conversations come up if he loses this game and he throws picks.
Yeah.
There's a lot at stake for the Niners. There's a lot of pressure. There's no pressure on the Packers. They're already way ahead of where they should be. Beating the Cowboys was great. They celebrated like they won the Super Bowl. They beat the Niners too. Oh my goodness. The Niners, if they lose this game, oh my God. Yeah. It's just the biggest collapse ever. I mean, you look at everyone differently at that point. Kyle could point the finger to whomever, but you look at him differently. You look at Brock differently. You look at Steve differently. You look at Bosa differently. Like, again, guys, you kept this group together for 4 years to do this again. Got to win this game. It doesn't matter if it's by 1 point. You got to win this game.
Yeah, and I fully expect them to. It is weird to think that the Niners could be one and done. It's a possibility. It's very like
happens.
a minute possibility in
Hey,
my
man, there's a
mind, but
possibility it's gonna rain in this game.
yeah, I know it's
Uh-huh.
Sunday. Is it gonna rain Saturday as
I don't
well?
know.
Yeah.
I haven't talked
Yeah,
to
that
Mother Nature yet, but I'm gonna talk, see what
talk
happens.
to him, see what
Yeah,
happens.
talk.
It's a possibility, man. I mean, the night it's weird to think that this season has a possibility of ending on Saturday, and I just can't accept it. I just don't think that that's gonna happen. I think the Niners are going to live up to what their potential this year. Maybe that's the homer in me talking, man, but I really just I gotta see the Niners win. I want my kids to see a Super Bowl win, and I feel like everything. I mean, all these achievements and awards and records that they're breaking. It reminds me of those '90s teams that used to win Super Bowls, and I feel like that's where they're headed. That's the trajectory. It feels like a special season. I refuse to accept the fact that this is going to end on Saturday. I don't see that happening.
Short week for the Packers, 4th road game in their past 5. Yeah, I mean, the Niners should
19
win.
people on their injury
And that's
list.
even more reason why things would go really weird if the Niners lost, because it's the 7th seed. It's the
Yeah.
youngest team in the league. You're the 4th oldest team in the league. The Packers are only going to be better next year. You're not going to be as good next year. You got to win this game. Otherwise, people are looking at you a lot like they look at the Cowboys right now.
Yeah.
A lot like they look
And
at Dak. They look at McCarthy. Like they look at Quinn and Prescott. That's what's waiting for the 49ers if they lose this game. No one
yeah.
cares.
Is Juice going to be better next year? Is Kittle going to
No,
be better next year?
no.
Is Debo going to be Trent Williams? No, this is the year. You know who is going to be better next year? I think, in my opinion, is the NFC West, and I think Seattle might be at the bottom of that. I can see the Cardinals being better next year. Man, Puka Nacua is the truth, brother. I
He's the
think the
truth.
Rams could
He's
be
way better than
better.
I realized. He's so good.
He's hella good. Like the Rams could be good. Cardinals could be good. We'll see what happens with the Seahawks and their coaching, but they don't really have a quarterback to me to make them better. But NFC West could be better next year, and the Niners are aging. This is the year, man. They got to make it happen. I feel like they're going to.
Hadrian Medina says Nick Bosa has to show up in this game. Last year in the playoffs, he recorded 0 sacks, but yet still got paid $122 million. It's time for Nick to show up. Yeah, he's been real professional all year, talking to the media. Maybe that's his way of like getting us to not talk about the fact that he had like 10 sacks this year and wasn't all pro, first team, second team, like kind of had a down season for his standard and for his price point. So if you could step it up now, no one will care how much money you're making.
It would be great if this entire pass rush stepped it up right now. Now's the time. Right?
Yep. And don't let Love out of the pocket, please. Keith Murphy, the unbeaten, says, side note, I hope Seattle hires Dan Quinn. Yeah. That guy's going to be a D coordinator next year somewhere other than Dallas. That's my hot take. Maybe here. Ben Some Metal Ford says, Brock going to throw 4 picks and Jones will dominate.
Damn. No way.
I don't know about 4
picks. Nah.
Lawless Light says, this has to be the year we are the oldest team in the NFC at this point. Yeah,
it has
man.
To be the year.
You can't keep running it back. It's been 4 years. Chris Hooper, Grant, got to take me to prom if the Niners win the Super Bowl.
Do it. Do it.
Yeah. Belligerent Ideas has been a member for 28 months. All right, cool. Thank you. Chris Tallarico says, Ryan, that's what I meant by playmaker at quarterback. Brock can't hit half those throws Love did. Brock Purdy's good and processes his reads quickly, but he's not hitting fadeaway touchdowns. I'd rather have Love, easy choice. He processes pretty well too, man.
Yeah, they both Stroud processes well, Love processes well. They do have better arm strength, but the first thing I noticed about Brock Purdy, like his first preseason, I called him a playmaker because he sees the field. He can come off script. Brock Purdy is a playmaker, man. Don't get it twisted. He is. It's just he's a little limited in his arm talent.
Yeah. Sometimes he tries to write checks that his butt can't cash. You got to be careful about that. You don't be overdrawn.
Yeah. My dad used to say that expression all the time.
It's a terrible expression. It's such a dad thing to say.
Yeah.
Chris Tallarico says Green Bay is strong where SF is weak. Should be a good game. I think it's going to be a hell of a game. This team beat Detroit and Kansas City. The Niners could too, but I think this team's legit. They also lost to Tampa. I don't know why. I'll have to watch. Keith Murphy. How many times has LaFleur beaten Kyle?
Once, right?
Once. That's true. That's right. 2021, week 3.
I think so.
Anoop says, very dangerous game. My concern is the secondary and safety speed versus the Packers wide receivers. Remember Jordan Addison? Now Dobbs, Watson, Reeds, Wicks. Good wide receivers. They really do.
Yeah. Good young receivers.
Yeah. Yep. Michael Brown, Foles, and Dilfer won Super Bowls. $2. Is that true?
It's true. Believe it or not.
Okay. Little known fact. Adam said had been a member for 5 months. Damn, my guy just said Dak Prescott of coaches. He did.
Hey, if he loses, yeah.
Salah Safadi says both of these offenses struggle against good linebackers. Cowboys have bad linebackers. Niners elite linebackers. True. True. No wonder you saw those guys wide open.
Yeah, I think all offenses struggle against elite linebackers. Right?
Keith Murphy, the unbeaten, says Ryan, he can never be the Dak of coaches. Dak can't get past the divisional.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Good point.
Moises, I still like that. It's a good phrase. Moises Rosales says that the Niners lose to Moody missing field goals, PATs. How does that not fall on Lynch Shanahan? They're responsible for constructing the roster. I don't want to cute. We would have won the Super Bowl if we had a kicker. That's true. We were talking about what's at stake for Kyle. You could put it on. You could put it on Wilkes. You could put it on the quarterback. You can't put it on the kicker because that was Kyle's choice. You could have made up with Robbie Gould, given him $5 million and told him take one more year away from your family. I'm sure he would have done it. I can't say I'm sure. Guessing.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, if the kicker doesn't work out, that's on Kyle. If Brock doesn't work out, he got rid of Trey because they didn't have time to develop a quarterback. They're a win now team. But if Brock doesn't pull through in the playoffs, they can't say, oh, he's developing, he's still young. Well, you said this is a win now team, and that's why you got rid of Trey. So both things are going to be on Kyle. Like if Brock doesn't perform, if Moody doesn't perform, ultimately that goes back to Kyle.
Chris Talarico says, unfortunately, nothing will ever fall on Kyle.
Probably.
Look, that's up to us.
Yeah, that's
I'm not saying he's going to get fired, that Jed's going to do anything, but it's all about the conversation about the team. Even there, where there's no real accountability, it's just public accountability, he skirts that.
Yeah.
Not this year if they lose in the first round. You're the freaking head coach. Win this game. Find a way. Don't put it on one of your underlings, one of your subordinates like you always do.
Last year, I tweeted out when they lost to the Eagles, I said there will be no coddling of Kyle Shanahan this offseason. It was my most hated tweet of all time, Grant. But I'm going to say the same thing right now. If Kyle doesn't pull this off, there will be no coddling of Kyle Shanahan, at least by Grant and I can tell you that much.
And even if they try to even if like Purdy gets hurt or there's a big injury and Kyle tries to skirt it that way, it's like, man, you do this every year. You do this every year. You got to be able to find a way to win or keep your quarterback healthy or something, man. I don't know. I just don't want to hear an excuse. I want to see them win the Super Bowl this year because everyone expects it. Everyone expects it. Everyone is just so certain they're going to win the Super Bowl. And if they don't, I don't want people to all of a sudden have revisionist history like, well, actually, they weren't the best team. Like, nah. All year I heard they're the best team with the best coach. Like, finish the job.
Yeah. And you got the next Steve Young. If someone's having a Brock, you got the next Steve Young. So we're
Keith
good.
Murphy. It's not impossible we go one and done. It happened to us during our Super Bowl era with Montana, but this is our year. It'd been a lot better if they could have faced Tampa or Philly in the first round. This to me seems like the worst case. We even saw the Rams in this game, in that last game. The Rams. I mean, I'll take Aaron Jones over Kyren Williams. I think. I mean, Stafford was great. I'm not going to take anything away from Stafford, but
dude's tough, man.
I think I'll take the Packers defense over the Rams defense. I think Aaron Donald's done.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Donald's he's still good, but he's not enough. Right?
Yeah.
They don't really have much outside of him on that defense. So you can't defense you need 11 players, at least 8.
Beats and Meat says, what do the Packers do better than the Niners?
I think the only thing they do better to me is they have a quarterback that can make every throw on the field. I think that's the only difference, or the only advantage they have.
Kind of nice thing to have. Quarterback who can make any throw on the field and move, and he's mobile, and he doesn't know picks. That's the thing, man. Look. Brock's great. 10 picks in his last 10 games. This was an issue for him in college, training camp, and the last 10 games. 4 of them were in one game, but still. Love isn't playing like that. Love isn't trying to prove that he's a gunslinger. He's not having like little private conversations with Mark Schlereth or back and forths with Cam Newton. He's just doing his job. And if the Niners lose, if the Niners lose to the Packers, you can almost guarantee Brock's throwing a pick in that game. So
I think they're They've lost every game
They
where Brock.
protect the football better than the
Yeah.
Niners in the last 10 games. Beats and meets.
Yeah, I really, when I just look at this team, I think Love is super talented, but Brock Purdy is talented too. They got the best weapons. They got the best coordinator. They got a better defense. Ultimately, I think all that's going to come together and be too much for the Packers.
What do you think the spread is?
I don't know. I haven't checked yet. I would imagine it's 6 for the Niners.
Let me look it up real quick over on BetUS, which also
I'm guessing it's 6.
wild
maybe
card
7.
divisional. Okay, here we go. Oh, no.
What is it? 10?
Try again.
10?
Yeah.
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
10.
Mm-hmm. Do you think they cover?
I think the Packers cover that. 10 points. I think it's going to be a close game. I do think the Niners should win the game. I don't know. We'll see how many injuries the Niners and the Packers have, but yeah, they should be favored. 6 sounds better to me. 5 sounds better. 4. 10?
Yeah.
They're both 7-3 in the last 10. All right. Well, look, the betting public doesn't know anything about the Packers. Everyone knows about the Niners. They're a very high-profile team with a bunch of stars. Packers aren't. I get it. But that's the perception, guys. Like, Kyle, you find a way to lose this game with a 10-point favorites. I'm sure Kyle hates that too. He's like, man, this seems good. Like, why? Why do we need this?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could see it getting out of hand, though. I could see the Niners having one of their just ass
They can do it to
whoopings,
anybody.
right?
When they win, they tend to win big.
You're right.
Flavor Reborn Restoration says, do you think if Brock Purdy wins Super Bowl, doubters will quiet down with all the Purdy slander? Yeah, I don't think there's that much Purdy slander, but it did seem kind of messed up that he didn't get second team All-Pro and Dak did. I think that's where you kind of see the slander. I think even his own peers or the people around the league look at him like, he just doesn't have the talent. So if he wins the Super Bowl, he should have been second team All-Pro, man. Enough of this Dak stuff. Dak is enough.
That's the challenge for Brock. That's what I'm saying. I think I brought it up earlier. It's like when he does good, they're like, "Oh, you should have done good." Yeah, look at your team, look at your coordinator, right? It's like and when
it's bad, it's like, "Oh, see,
yeah."
So that's what we were talking about. He did it once this year.
He's got to be excellent to overcome that, which means winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Absolutely.